It is a great privilege to stand here tonight, the land cared for by the Gala people, and I'd like to acknowledge them as the traditional owners and recognise that this land has always been under their custodianship. I pay my respect to elders past, present and future, and to emerging community leaders. I also extend that welcome to other Indigenous people from around Australia and non-Indigenous people here tonight. My name is Kyran Dixon, as you may have heard. I'm a proud and strong Ghana and Narungga man. I know my cousin Adam Goods is here, so good to see another Narungga man here as well. I'm also a CareerTrackers alumni, and I'm currently working at Ernst & Young as a risk and internal audit in the risk and internal audit practice. It's obviously an honour to be here tonight and to share my story with you. It's an honour to stand in this amazing tradition, to follow in the footsteps of so many amazing individuals who have had the task to come up here and share their stories with you. I will be honest though, and I will openly admit, when I first started interning at EY, I was like, what is EY? But in that time, I've learned a tremendous amount about EY. What I've learned is that at EY, we have a purpose, and that's to build a better working world. Through the insights and quality service we deliver, to help build trust and confidence for our stakeholders, we play a critical role in building a better working world for our people, our families, and our communities. I was fortunate enough to be given this opportunity by CareerTrackers to partake in this program. A wonderful program that networks with so many stakeholders to give employment opportunities for students once like myself. What I didn't count on though was exposure to this program led to me being offered employment with such a great company. And what makes it even meaningful now is to see other young Indigenous interns at EY and the ability for me to share in their journey and help them along the way. So it's a wonderful honour to celebrate that. For me, growing up as a young Indigenous man from the western suburbs of Adelaide, I was fortunate enough in my childhood to be exposed to the wisdom of my elders who shared their language, their culture, and their knowledge. This helped me to develop my purpose, to honour their legacy, and to continue my community obligations to also give back. I didn't grow up in a wealthy family. My siblings and I were raised by a single mother. Our family lived in government housing, and times were often tough. I learned the value of things from a young age. As a family, we had something much more, something money couldn't buy. We grew up rich with love, wisdom, and cultural knowledge. Our mother was a wonderful provider. She could make something out of nothing and always made sure we had healthy meals on the table. My mother, an educator herself, worked part-time to provide for myself and my siblings. This year's NAIDOC theme, Because of Her We Can, pays tribute to the truly amazing women over many generations who've laid wonderful foundations for their families and their communities. I pay respect to her, and I pay respect to other Indigenous mothers here tonight. My life's journey could be best described as a roller coaster ride. It's been full of highs and lows, ups and downs, and twists and turns. As an 11-year-old in primary school, I was diagnosed with a bone tumour. From an active mad sports kid, all my sporting activities had to cease. I now had to concentrate on another battle. As Adam Davids alluded to before, this experience led to me being named the 2018 South Australian Young Australian of the Year. My subsequent procedure was an unusual one. The size of an orange had grown between my hip and it pushed my leg bone out. I faced a long recovery period and the uncertainty of never being able to participate in sport again. I was devastated and I didn't know what life had in store for me. When you experience an ordeal like this, you reflect back and think, how did I get through this? For me, I was blessed to have the wonderful support of family, friends, and my community. My mother always encouraged us children that no goal was out of reach. She taught us the importance of education and encouraged us to participate in extracurricular activities and team sports. I continued on my sporting journey, making a steady recovery and continuing football with the Port Adelaide Magpies in the state's top-tier football competition. Whilst at the same time attending Mount Carmel College, a local school nearby, I became involved in reconciliation activities, something that I was very passionate about. And through this, I was able to give in many leadership opportunities. However, for me, the proudest moment was when I was the first in my family to complete year 12 and head to university. My mother, a strong advocate for education, encouraged me to attend university. So I completed an alternative entry program and then was offered a Bachelor of Arts majoring in politics and international studies at the University of Adelaide. Whilst at university, I had a passion for conciliation to bring social cohesion between non-Indigenous and Indigenous peoples, and to make people aware of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander culture, for often it is hidden and ignored, and what our culture has contributed to this great country. I enjoyed getting involved in reconciliation activities, and whilst at university, I was afforded the Dean's Award for my commitment to reconciliation. While combining university studies, my internship, along with my sporting activities, in 2014, I started to develop flu-like symptoms. Putting it down to stress of pending exams, my sister's wedding, and the State Aboriginal Football Carnival in South Australia, I played through these championships unwell. Thankfully, we had won, but my mother insisted I have a blood test. And if she was here tonight, she would say, a mother's instinct is always right. It was Thursday morning. I had an interview lined up with the Adelaide Advertiser to begin an internship as a political and sports reporter. I had successfully completed this interview, and I was stoked to be spending the whole summer watching and reporting on cricket. I left the interview pumped when I noticed a missed call. Now, I know all of us mob get nervous when we see numbers we don't know. But instincts told me to Google that number. When I Googled that number, it just happened to be my doctor. My doctor had called within 12 hours of going to have the blood test and told me to come into the surgery immediately. Little did I know that this would change and turn my world upside down. I started to become nervous, thinking in my head as the scenarios as what the doctor would say, but at the same time, trying to reassure myself that nothing was wrong. The doctor sat me down and he told me, "You have acute myeloid leukemia." Everything had changed. I remember the feeling of defeat. I'd seen the world explode in front of my eyes, and my first thought was cancer kills. People die from cancer. I was 21 years old. I didn't know what was installed for me. Lots of specific blood tests had to be done. Treatment would depend on what strain I had and whether my prognosis would be a favourable one. I faced a lot of uncertainty, but the support of friends, family, and doctors was overwhelming. Even though I was venturing into the unknown, I knew that they would be on hand to support me physically, emotionally, and spiritually. But ultimately, I had to grapple with the fact that I faced the fight for my life alone. The genetic testing came back, and the doctors said I would need 2 lots of chemotherapy. Because I was young and reasonably fit, they were going to bombard me with fairly high doses. They told me that acute myeloid leukemia can return within 5 years. I have now been in remission for 3 years, and today, each and every day, continues to be a gift. Treatment took its toll on me. I had little energy or strength some days. I wanted treatment to stop. The side effects were unbearable, and there were some days I just couldn't cope. There were days I could not face the world. I would get up, shower, and then just crash. This is when I found myself most vulnerable. Mum sat on the sidelines supporting me. Her encouragement was just enough and brought me comfort in those dark days. The doctors were great, and the nurses were like angels. Support staff were on hand to support me, and especially the Red Kite Foundation, who supported my family immensely through that tough time. I spent over a month in hospital, including bone marrow biopsies, blood and platelet transfusions, and constant blood transfusions. Unfortunately, that year, I couldn't go home for Christmas, so my family brought Christmas to me, which was pretty special. I had 4 lots of chemotherapy, unfortunately ending back up in hospital every time. At that time, I was back studying university, but lucky for me, my university was next door, so I would just pop around the corner and go to my tutorial. Mum thought I was mad. But for me, I still had goals and dreams to pursue, and that was to complete my degree and graduate. After 6 months of treatment, I was told by my specialist that my cancer was in remission. I was asked to partake in a trial, which would require taking additional medication and constant bone marrow biopsies to help find a cure, not just for my cancer, but for all cancer, which causes so much pain and suffering. As the saying goes, things at life that can throw at you can make you bitter or better. For me, I decided to make things better. I continued on my educational journey and graduated a Bachelor of Arts, majoring in politics and international studies in 2016. I completed my final internship with Ernst & Young, where I was offered a full-time role in risk and internal audit, a long way from not knowing much about them. At this stage, I also became actively involved in what Aboriginal people refer to as the cause, something that you are passionate about, something that is close to your heart. This led to my involvement in the Candad Aboriginal Community Reference Group, where I'm currently the youngest member. And it was through this involvement, I was fortunate enough to attend the National Cancer Conference in Brisbane, networking with many other Indigenous people from around the world to discuss the topic of cancer. This was a wonderful experience for me, and I was able to share my journey and experiences. In December 2016, that same year, I travelled to Edinburgh, Scotland, to attend the Teenage Cancer Trust 9th International Conference, where researchers from the UK, Australia, and the US came together to discuss the topic of youth cancer. This gathering was a rare opportunity for Aboriginal voices to be heard in a global context. I was able to share my first-hand experience with doctors and leaders of NGOs from around the world and to raise global awareness for youth cancer. From this led to the founding of the Aboriginal Youth Community Reference Group. This is to give support to other young Indigenous people faced by cancer, who are going through their diagnosis, feeling isolated, and their whole treatment with cancer. For me, this is still in its infancy, but I'm very passionate it will grow. Last October, I was awarded the 2018 Young South Australian of the Year. A proud moment for my family, myself, but more particularly for those who have supported me along my journey in becoming an ambassador and actively promoting cancer awareness and research, and to spread the message of hope, strength, and resilience for other young Indigenous people on their journey. As Young Australian for South Australia, I'm not sure where this journey will take me. However, my goal is to continue to inspire the next generation of Indigenous youth leaders navigating their way through life. We will experience road bumps, challenges, and life will test us. But we all have the natural potential to prevail, survive, and to thrive even when faced with unimaginable trauma. To conclude, there are messages I would like my fellow alumni, and especially interns here tonight, to take away and to contemplate as you move forward in your journey. It is important to remember that the CareerTrackers community is important. These internships are important, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that. It is important that we as CareerTrackers alumni and interns pave the way for the next generation of interns and alumni who have the opportunity to be a part of this program. As a young person faced with cancer diagnosis, you face being vulnerable. There are some days where you feel like you can move mountains, and there are some days you feel like you can't move out of bed. But there are two things that you can control: your effort and your attitude. Wake up every day and build off what you did the day before. For me, I'm always chasing something else. I have not done anything yet, because what I've done in the last couple of years, the last couple of months, means nothing. I have a fire burning inside of me. I'm continually trying to readjust my comfort zone and continually to try to get better. And that's what we have to do. Continue to try to get better for ourselves, our families, and our communities, more importantly. How do we do this? Be thankful for the opportunity. Take pride in what other people take for granted. So when opportunities come your way, cherish them and make the most of them. So when you're here in a few years' time, you can be proud to say that you've been a part of this CareerTrackers program and you've made a difference. Thank you.